I did it, guys. I finally did it. My right to wrong ratio after a week of predictions finally exceeded a 2-to-1 ratio. 11-4, pussy! Let me chill, honestly. It's like week 8 or 9 by this point. I ain't got nothing to celebrate. Unless I could keep this going, of course. First up, you got the Minnesota Vikings versus the LA Chargers. The Vikings were low-key slicing up the Eagles' defense, but lost because I guess they're allergic to the end zone, apparently. The Vikings' red zone offense that game was about as clean as the editing in their highlight video. NFL's gotta do better. Meanwhile, the Chargers got clobbered by a much more dominant Indianapolis Colts team. I'm not gonna lie, I might have to stop calling them the Chargers and just start saying the LA Justin Herbert. I mean, am I wrong for that? This game could literally go either way. It's a battle between two teams that are not familiar with consistency. I'm gonna go with the Vikings to win, though. I feel like their defense is more solid and their offense is much more efficient than the Chargers. But in my eyes, these two teams aren't going against each other. They're going against themselves. Next, you got the Chicago Bears versus the Baltimore Ravens. The rightfully 1-5 Baltimore Ravens are just coming off of their bye week, but they still have no Lamar Jackson. So basically nothing to look forward to here. Meanwhile, the Bears took care of the Saints, beating them mostly by running the ball. It was a dominant victory for Chicago simply by scraping the Saints on the ground. Now put that up against one of the worst and most disappointing defenses in the NFL right now. I'm gonna have to pick the Bears to win. On top of that, the Ravens have some of the worst turnover differential in the league, while the Bears have some of the best turnover differential in the league. The Bears just outdo the Ravens in damn near every stat. They better win this shit. Next, you got the 49 injuries versus the Houston Texans. Another strong win for San Francisco, defeating a Falcons team that was just starting to heat up. That was George Kittle's first game back from injury, and he wasn't a huge factor, which is fine. You know, you want to ease him back into the system. I mean, you shouldn't expect him to come back from an injury fucking guns blazing and shit. They'll be taking on a Texans team that just lost on Sunday Night Football to the Seattle Seahawks. Unfortunately, the Houston Texans have yet to beat another solid team. And unfortunately for them, they're going against a 49er team that's looking pretty fucking solid. Both defenses are pretty solid, so I imagine this is going to be a pretty low-scoring affair. But I'm going to have to pick the 49ers to win. Because, like I said, the Texans, they just cannot seem to beat a team that isn't awful. And that's a pretty bad look for the Texans, and that is not convincing me that they'll do anything different here. Next, you got the Dolphins taking on the Falcons in Atlanta. You see, Dolphins, it's one thing to get bent over a table and have your ass whooped by a really good team. But if that team is the Browns, then you're seriously a damsel in distress here. Before they were tanking for Tua, now they're tanking with Tua. Tua only had 100 yards passing, yes, 100 yards on the dot, while also throwing a donut of touchdowns and 3 completions to the other team. I don't know what that little run was that the Dolphins had over the past few years where they made it seem like they're going to be really good, but not really. But we all need to come together and agree that that run is over indefinitely. It's up. It might be time to start all the way over, Dolphins. But they'll be taking on the Falcons, who kind of got humbled by the 49ers. Falcons' defense looked pretty solid, but their offense couldn't really get nothing going. But this should be a slam dunk victory for Atlanta here. Next, you got the Buffalo Bills versus the Carolina Panthers. One of these teams is on a winning streak while the other is on a losing streak. I'll let you guys figure that out. Before their well-needed bye week, the Bills went to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and they look like dog shit. It was literally one of the worst Buffalo Bills performances I have seen in a while. You could have just said that game was Josh Allen and James Cook versus the Atlanta Falcons. Bottom line, they didn't look good. They'll be taking on the Panthers, who, even though they got a free win off of the Jets, they're hot. They are hot right now. At first glance, looking at this game, you might think that this should be a slam dunk victory for the Bills, but I don't think that'll be the case. What do I think the case will be then? Who do I got winning this game? Fuck, I have to pick the Panthers. They're undefeated at home, okay? Undefeated at home. You can't argue with that shit. That, along with their recent performances, you know what I mean? It's not an unreasonable pick here, okay? Panthers win, Bills lose. Next you got
That is one big pile of shit.
there may not be any undefeated teams left, but there is an unvictorious team, the Jets. They just can't do anything right. They are allergic to putting up more points than their opponents. And I was starting to think the Bagels were at their level, but on Thursday night against the Steelers, they proved me and many others wrong. Jamar Chase had a record-breaking 16 goddamn catches in the win over the Steelers. And just overall, the Bagels proved that maybe there's still some life in them, I guess. I'm going to pick the Bagels to win because of who they're going against. But after this, we'll see if there really is still some fight in them. Next, you got the Patriots going against the Browns. The Browns' defense is pretty much what won that game against the Dolphins for them. And what little offense was out there for the Browns was mostly just the rookie running back, Judkins, just working away. They'll be defending against a red-hot Patriots team who's really posing to be the threat in the AFC that we all anticipated they'd be. I told you the Patriots would come up this year. I told you. Don't bandwagon the Patriots. Stay on your teams. I'm talking to you, Jets fans. Now, I'm not going to get too hyped because they have been beating on some trash teams, this last one being the Titans. But these are blowout wins. Like, these are ass whoopings they're giving these teams. It's not like these close games and shit like that. But it'll be interesting to see how they clash with a very good Browns defense. I'm going to stick with the Patriots. I'm going to pick them to win just because I think the Browns offense is too abysmal to believe in. Hey, the Patriots are hot. The Patriots are hot. They're on a good winning streak right now. And do you really think the Browns are going to be the one to stop that? Actually, I'm not even going to cap. The Browns be stopping winning streaks. They have a tendency of doing that. But still, I'm sticking with the Patriots. Next, you get a rematch of what was actually a pretty interesting game only a couple of weeks ago. You got the Giants taking on the Eagles in Philadelphia this time. The Eagles got a nice win off on the Vikings. The red zone defense really helped that win there. They let the Vikings come back and do it towards the end, but, they held on. Eagles pulled the win away from the Vikings there. But the Giants, on the other hand, they had this lead here, and they blew it. They lost the game because they let the Broncos score 33 fucking points in the fourth quarter alone. Bro, the Giants are the stupidest team to predict this year. This shit ain't even funny. It's not funny. But a couple weeks ago, they did beat the Eagles on Thursday. They actually they spanked the Eagles. They beat on them. Tap danced all over the Eagles. Do I bet on the Giants to bring that recipe that they had against the Eagles into Philadelphia and beat them again? No. Hell no. I'm picking the Eagles to win. I'm picking the Eagles to win the battle of blowing fourth quarter leads to the Broncos. Next, you got the TB Bucks taking on the No Saints. The Buccaneers, for the first time this season, look like complete dog shit against the Lions. Meanwhile, the Saints, there's really nothing to talk about there. Just usual Saints biz. The Saints are about as good as the 6-7 meme right now. This is being played in the Superdome, and I know that the Saints know how to beat the Buccaneers, but I am going to pick the Buccaneers to win this time. Because the Buccaneers have been consistently good up until just last week, and even then they're taking on probably the best team in the NFL right now. And just like the 49ers, they're taking an ass beating with all those injuries. But also like the 49ers, they seem to be doing pretty fine with them. But yeah, I got the Bucs winning this one. Next, you got the Dallas Cowboys versus the Denver Broncos. The Cowboys took advantage of their beat-up division rival, the Redskins, and beat their ass. Simple as that. As for the Broncos, I think they swiped some of that black magic off of the Chiefs and are starting to play around with it right now, because how the fuck are you making these fourth quarter comebacks? 33 points in one quarter is insane. If you dropped 33 points in every quarter of a game, that'd be 132 points. Now, where was that energy against the Dolphins a couple years ago? Why can't I let go of that game a couple years later? I don't know. So yeah, the Broncos are really asserting themselves as the comeback kings this year. Now, do I see the Cowboys suffering the same fate as their division rivals? No, but I do think they're going to lose this game. Whether the Broncos step up in the fourth quarter or step up in all four quarters, I do think they'll be the better team this game. Oh, and the home field advantage, so, like harder to breathe and shit like that. Most unfair home field advantage in the NFL. Next, you got Titans versus Colts. The Titans just doing their thing, losing, and the Colts just doing their new thing, winning. There's not much that I want nor need to talk about here, so I'm just gonna say Colts win. Sunday Night Football, you got the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers versus old team will be very interesting. The Steelers last Thursday folded to the Bagels. Meanwhile, the Packers defeated the Cardinals despite being outdone in almost every major stat in a game. Micah Parsons had a pretty solid game for Green Bay, bagging 3 sacks. Pause! The Packers defense is more than likely going to eat up the Steelers' subpar offensive performance scheme, if you will. And even the Steelers' defense hasn't been all that. As far as like yards per game allowed, they do like to force fumbles, but the Packers haven't given up very many of those, so this will be an interesting clash. The Steelers could take control of this game, but the Packers look like the much better team here. They just seem like they know what they're doing. So I'm gonna have to pick Green Bay to win this game, if I'm being like really realistic here. But most of all, I just want a good primetime game. And lastly, for Monday Night Football, finally, just one Monday Night Football game. This is how we like it. Keep it like this, please. We got the Redskins taking on the Chiefs. The Redskins, due to being decimated with injuries, proceeded to get decimated by the Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Chiefs decimated the Raiders, who didn't even really look like they came to play. That game looked like if you just turn on any football game and set it to easy mode, and then you just start beating on the computer's ass, that's what that game was, Chiefs versus Raiders. The Chiefs are starting to return to their dominant status. Meanwhile, the Redskins are struggling with these injuries, just trying to make it work out. It's a bit sad to watch, especially since, this team, they're trying to get back to relevancy for the first time in decades. And you don't want to see it. You don't want to see it for any team, but especially not one that's trying to come up like this. I am going to pick the Chiefs to win. They'll probably take advantage of the Washington injuries again because they're missing quite a few people. Washington will not be winning unless we see some type of colossal collapse from the Chiefs, which would be amazing. Otherwise, we might want to find something else to do for Monday night. But I'm sure a lot of us are not going to. Like, I know I am probably going to sit my ass down like a good boy and watch the game in anticipation that something cool happens, and then complain when something cool doesn't happen. Life as an NFL fan, baby.